Developing news surrounding a brutal murder in broad daylight.
Now police have five suspects in custody in the killing of musician Kyle Yorlitz, and they are all age 16 or younger. We have team coverage of this case and what it means for these teens, and we begin with News Channel 5's Kyle Horan. And Kyle, police say this should be a wake-up call for everyone in Nashville.
16, 15, 14, 13, and 12, Rory. That's how old these suspects are that police say committed this crime. Now they're all arrested, and a family has lost their 24-year-old son.
He is an absolute innocent victim.
This is a crime that's rocked even the police.
None of the five individuals is a stranger to the police department or the court system. We've got to do better. Families have to do better. The systems have to do better. It is unfathomable.
We know the names of 3 of the 5 juveniles charged with criminal homicide in connection with the shooting death of 24-year-old Kyle Yorlitz, 14-year-old Renaya McKnight, 15-year-old Diamond Lewis, and 16-year-old Decorius Wright. The 12 and 13-year-olds' names have not been released because of their age. Here's what police say happened. The juveniles entered the alleyway on Torbett Street in a stolen red Chevy pickup and robbed Yorlitz of his wallet. Then they tried to take his car, and when he wouldn't let them have it, he was shot. They then left the scene, ditched the red pickup, and got into a stolen SUV crossover. Police tracked the group to the West Nashville Walmart. All 5 suspects were arrested there.
We have recovered 2 loaded guns, both of which had been reported stolen.
Also, the 2 guns are being examined to figure out which gun was used in the murder.
This is not something that people should just glance over. This happened in this community. Every neighborhood should take note of what's happened and think about what we, as a Nashville community, can do about this.
Police say these types of situations can be avoided by locking your car, not leaving guns in your car or your keys, because the 2 guns and the 2 vehicles in this case were both stolen. Now I'm going to send it over to my colleague Jason Lamb, who's been following this case as well. Jason, what's going on with these young offenders?
Well, Kyle, outside the Juvenile Justice Center, we've learned the district attorney wants to try each one of these young suspects as adults. Now, some of those suspects went in front of a magistrate today for a detention hearing, and that magistrate decided there was enough evidence to keep the minors in detention, but it will be at different hearings, one each for each of the suspects, where a judge will decide whether each can be tried as an adult. If the judge determines they can be, of course, the consequences for this crime, if they are found guilty, will be drastically different. In juvenile court, the maximum sentence would be being held in DCS custody until they turn 19. And of course, the penalty as adults would be life in prison. We talked to former juvenile prosecutor Jim Todd about the 2 specific elements that the judge will look for.
The judge will have to have a hearing, will have to determine whether there's probable cause to believe the child committed the crime, and would have to find that there is nothing in the juvenile system available to rehabilitate the child. And obviously that's harder to do for a 12-year-old because there's still 7 years left in the juvenile system to rehabilitate them.
So that explains why there may be different outcomes for each of these individual suspects when it comes to the decision on whether they get tried as adults. Live in front of the Juvenile Justice Center tonight, Jason Lamb, News Channel 5.